The following program is for mature audiences only. The views expressed by the people and other guests on the podcast are their opinions and their own and don't reflect the institutions or establishments that they work for. So please do not get our asses fired or canceled. Thank you very much. Enjoy the show.
Hey, what's going on, Glad Gang? Welcome to another episode of Glad You Made It podcast. Happy New Year. Hey, you did it. You made it to 2023. It feels like a made-up year. This year feels like it doesn't even exist. We're already off to a interesting start of the year. I feel like, damn, like we just get right to it with the bullshit. But I want everybody to stay hopeful. I bought myself a planner. Little planner, gonna write in it for a couple months and then use it as a coaster come April. You know? I think that whatever your goals are, whatever your hopes are, whatever your plans are for this year, please go after it. And while you're at it, get a prostate exam. See what's going on down there. Get everything checked. Don't even go to the gym. Just go to the doctor first. And just check your shit. This is the time. I don't know if I'm doing New Year's resolutions. Like, I know what I need to do, you know, like physically, habit-wise, yada, yada, yada. But I did have the opportunity to work on New Year's Eve, doubled up. And I will say this, people that show up to comedy shows on New Year's Eve, y'all, I like y'all because y'all really trying to just get that last laugh in. I respect it. Some of y'all really need it. I'm not being disrespectful when I say this, but it's just like, hey, I just want to make sure y'all get these laughs in for real. Another thing that I wanted to just kind of like, another thing I wanted to give some attention to was after the shows I had, I went to a friend's house, had a great New Year's Eve party. It was a good time, and I was around a lot of just creative and wonderful people, and it was refreshing. My wife and I haven't spent like a New Year's together since we first started dating, and it was or we haven't partied together. Actually, yeah, we've done a couple New Year's together, but it was just nice to go to a party. And I spoke to one of the people there, and they were just like, in this year, I'm just trying to be the best version of myself. And I actually thought to myself, when was the last time I actually was just like, nah, I'm just going to go for me and go for dolo and just try to be the best version of myself. You know, we get into the like, oh, I got to lose weight, or I got to balance the budget. I got to finish these chores. I got to do the thing for the house. This should be the year I get solar, you know, or this will be the year I work on my jump shot. No, have we just talked about self for a minute? So, you know, my goal this year, I don't even have goals. I'm just going to have waves. I know that sound like not like my goal is to have waves. I ain't talking about my hair, but I'm just talking about waves of just positive shit that only benefits my family, my friends, and myself. You know, if it's negative bullshit, as some members of my family say, get the fuck from around me. Okay, get the fuck from around me. I don't want it. But yeah, that's the energy I'm kind of going on. Is there was a lot of things that I was doing in 2022, 2021, just to kind of, hey, kind of fit in or just find my place, or kind of second guessing myself. Like now the wave I'm on, I just want to, I know my place. I know exactly what I like. I know exactly what I don't like. And I'm going to go for that. There's not going to be little wiggle room. I'm going to go for the things that I know. I'm only here for a good time, not a long time. And I just want that. I want that energy going into 2023. And so hopefully email us, glad you made it podcast at gmail.com. I would love to read some emails, see how this podcast has affected you. I would love to hear your feedback of guests that you want to have on. Yes, I try to get some big names and heavy hitters on the show. But also I want to have some panels. I want to talk to different folks from all different walks of life. And we're going to have some panels on with my brother, my wife, some close friends. I just want to thank everybody for listening to this podcast. I know it's a newer podcast. The format is still fluctuating and developing, but I just appreciate everybody just for going along with the wave. I will say to the people that tapped in for that Roy Wood Jr. episode, y'all thought there was, I appreciate it. I appreciate it because I'm still, there were some people just like, oh, you didn't really get Roy on this joint. Yeah, we got Roy on this joint. So we're going to have some more guests. Everybody that I put on here, I'm telling you, make sure you follow them. I'm going to do a small business, start focusing on small businesses, content creators, people that you may not be familiar with, but you need to support, need to be on their radar, or they need to be on your radar. So this is the kind of energy that we want. That I want. I don't know if you want it, but if you want some of this energy, you can come on in. Come on in, baby. The water's fine. But just know that you are appreciated. I really truly thank you for listening to this podcast. And if there's anything you need, you just reach out. Glad you made it podcast at gmail.com. We got a great episode. I know you're going to like it. This is, we got the homeboy. We got 2 Brandons on this episode. Check it out. What's up, Glad Gang? Welcome back to another fantastic episode. This episode has been some months in the making due to bad schedules, bad Wi-Fi, bad settings, bad preferences. But we got a great guest in here joining me as always, and whenever his schedule is free. My big bro, Brandon Miller, is in the house. What's up, man? How you doing?
Man, I'm feeling good. Getting ready for Christmas, which I'm not fully prepared for, but we're gonna wing it.
Yeah, spoken like a real dad. Spoken like a real father. You're just like, yeah, we just gonna figure it out. Like, I'm one of those shoppers that just blitzes on one day and I get everything in one trip. Don't talk to me. Like, I don't try to upsell me on the shit. I don't want, just give me my gift receipt. And you know what? Don't even give me the gift receipt. Just email the shit to me. It's taking too much time.
See, so the problem is, like, so for Nicole, I shop just during the year and I just save gifts around the house until it's Christmas time, like, solid plan. But with the kids, they're like, I have to kind of wait until like near Christmas because they change in size and desire so much. Elizabeth sent me a list with like 30 things on it. I was like, you're getting 3.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So, well, good luck to them children on Christmas. But we have a wonderful guest. I want to get him on here. He's been featured. He's an actor, podcast host, comedian, screenwriter, producer. He's been on College Humor, MTV, VH1, submitted for the Huffington Post, Rotten Tomatoes, RogerEbert.com, and he's got some other shit that he's going to talk to about. One of the founders and creators of Drunk Black History. I haven't seen this brother in a long time. Give it up for Brandon Collins.
Hey, how you doing, guys? Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
Yo,
I appreciate you, bro.
Good to see another Brandon.
I was like, I'm a little jealous of the intro, man. They was like, yo, man, my brother. And then, like, he got, like, 37 adjectives, man. I feel the type of way about it.
All right, fine. I mean, like, I can say, hey, give it up for my brother. He owns, like, 37 bow ties and is a woman.
Oh, shit. Nah, nigga.
Okay.
Like, no, low-key is, like, almost 100.
Okay.
My bow tie game is unfuckable.
You got that many bow ties?
Yo, and like,
I could have used you at my wedding, bro.
Regular neck ties, I'm at like 120, 125, and I'm almost at 100 bow ties.
Yo, that's crazy because my mom used to work at tie rack when I was growing up. And I was like 7 years old and I had like racks of just ties with like Jerry Garcia and shit. But I'm like 7 years old. I'm like, when am I going to be wearing all these ties? It was just wild. Like, but those are expensive too, man.
Hell yeah, they are.
You know, it's a good investment.
He don't got the clip-on joints. He don't got the clip-on. He got the real.
All self-tie.
Oh, damn. Okay, you fancy.
Actually, no, I take that back. I've got two pre-tied, but that's because it was the only way to get them.
Oh no, not 2 out of 125. Oh no.
Look, man.
Collins, man, what's up with you, bro? Like, how you been?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm kind of the opposite of you guys right now. Like, I don't feel in the holiday spirit at all. I'm out here in Studio City in California. It's my first winter out. Yo, it's just, it's so weird because there's no it's sunny out here. You know, there's no Christmas trees. At least there's palm trees. Like, it doesn't feel like Christmas. That's fine because the wife and I are like, you know what? We're not even getting each other presents. We just got each other's love. That's what we need. And it's not because we don't want to buy presents. Just that we have a studio apartment now and we had a house back in New York. And it's like, you know, we don't need any extra.
Yeah, inflation be inflating. So,
man.
The homelessness, like that's apparent every day over here, bro.
Yeah. Like, and I just got back from Seattle and it was kind of the same situation. It's like, I was like, man, it's different out West now. It's because the West is so spacious and now it's not because it's just a lot of damn people. And
there's a lot of people. And then I'm near the metro line. So I'm one of the brave people that take the train here in LA. Like, I'm never going to take New York public transit for granted ever again because on the LA Metro, I've seen people smoking crack and then doing jigs with one another. Like, it's the wild. I wouldn't be surprised if I saw RoboCop down there patrolling the trains. That's how crazy it is.
Yeah,
Murphy. No, like, I mean, LA.
At least we have a real train though now. Like, so if you had got here like 5 years ago, you would have been able to get like 3 places on that train, like downtown. So now we got like a few different trains. You could actually get through the city, but you know, because I'm down the street. I'm in Pasadena. I'm down the street from you, so it was like,
oh, okay.
It's definitely
I went to Compton on the train.
Right,
you went to Compton on the train?
You can get to Compton on the train, and I never saw that coming in the Boys of the Hood. I was like, one day you'll be able to take a train to danger.
It's not even that dangerous anymore.
No, it's actually really chill. Nice over there.
That's what happens once Kendrick wraps around your neighborhood. It's fine now. So everything's good. So you came originally from Michigan, right?
Yep, Ann Arbor, Michigan. Yep,
and then to New York.
And then I went to New York to go to college at St. John's University in Queens. Yeah. And then I started doing like some more acting and comedy and stuff like that. And that's when I started getting into I was already into stand-up in high school. Yeah. And then I started producing stand-up shows and like learning like about production and diving more into that. And then, I kind of focused more on my education. I got my master's degree in school counseling. But both times I graduated, like New York went on a hiring freeze. So I had to always pivot. Like, I never actually got to do the things I got my degrees in. Really, which is wild.
And that's interesting because I love to talk about how, like, in just that sentence, in just that answer alone, you made me want to ask 3 questions. I mean, like, you went through 2 pivots. One, what's the best advice you can give to anybody for just a pivot in life?
I would say listen to your gut, bro. Like, I remember in 2008, I was graduating in June. The economy was like starting to teeter really bad. And I was graduating with a bachelor's degree in adolescent education and a concentration in English. So essentially I wanted to be an English teacher. But what was messed up is that earlier that year when I was doing my student teaching, because you're supposed to teach for a whole class until your graduation and get those certified hours of training, I realized I don't like teaching English. I like teaching history. And then I found out it would take a lot of I would have to do a lot of extra steps to be able to change my concentration to history instead of English. So it would compromise me being able to graduate on time or get the licensure I would need to be a history teacher. And I remember sitting at graduation being like, yeah, I don't want to be a teacher. If I can't teach what I want to teach, I don't want to do this. And so I just pivoted and went for my master's degree in school counseling because I figured I could probably have more of an impact on an individual level with students going that route. And then that didn't pan out with the graduation. Not only was New York on a hiring freeze, but the only people who were potentially going to get counseling jobs in New York City were people that were bilingual. And I didn't have a bilingual certification. So I was like, okay. So I started doing a lot of independent work in education, doing some outreach counseling through various programs. And I'm just fortunate to have a dope network where I got referred to a job that took me in a different direction in my career, but I just had to be open to seeing what happens. That's why I'm out here. I had a very good job, less than a year ago that I left the security of that to pursue this brief flash of a dream as a screenwriter out here in California. And who knows, maybe it'll become a long-term thing, but I also need to be responsible and, think about, the future. So I'm also allowing myself to be open to, hey, if a cool opportunity comes where I can maybe manage that while I'm wrapping up the program, I got to take it, but that's been something instilled with me since my grandfather. My grandfather was a worker at General Motors for 30-something years. And he used to always tell me, he's like, do what makes you happy, but give yourself options. Always give yourself options, right? And so I've always tried to make sure I had as many options available to me as possible because I don't like being backed into a corner and having to create options versus having them readily available.
Absolutely.
I was gonna say. It's your story sounds a lot like mine. That's how I got into teaching. I have a degree in business. I have a degree in business management, and I was when I graduated in 2007, we were going into the recession, and all the companies were like, "Yeah, no, we're not really looking to bring nobody on like that." And the DC area, so on and so forth, and I came back out here to LA and, just happened to have somebody that hooked me up with the job at a school as just like a TA. And next thing it turned me into teaching. And then, I taught for years, but now that did bring me with the option where, I don't know if Jay's ever talked to you about me, but my wife and I, we have an educational program company where we bring programs to schools freelance. So now I can still impact the kids, kind of like you were saying with the counseling, but outside of the classroom, because the classroom can wear you down. So it's definitely dope about having options. And so it's I guess what was one of the hardest changes for you though, coming from New York to here? Because it's a lot.
I mean, I don't have a car. I have a license, but I just don't plan on getting a car unless I'm going to be out here permanently. So that's been not only incredibly time consuming, but also expensive, because the ride shares are way more, everything's way more expensive out here than it is in New York. At least that's how I feel. But we also moved here during the, uptick of inflation. So maybe if I went back to New York, I feel the same hurt, but the ride shares, that's been a huge pain. And I didn't realize how big Los Angeles is.
Yeah.
New York is huge, right? But you can get to the other side of New York City in maybe 2 hours if you're going really far from Staten Island to the deepest parts of the Bronx or something, right? Or even Yonkers. But for here, it's you could drive somewhere that's really far in 20 minutes. But if you try to do public transit, you talk about 4 days. It's really wild out here. Also, I don't like the people necessarily. And New Yorkers can be assholes, but the people out here are they're assholes, but they're not even trying to be cordial about it, or at least fake the funk. It's so weird.
This shit is refreshing to hear for me. Because I hear this shit and I'm like,
look, man, I gotta stick up for my Cali people. If you haven't been south of the 10 with people, then those people are transplants. Everybody north of the 10 and west of the 110, they're not from here either. They're from somewhere else, and they're all simultaneously complaining about the fact that they hate LA people, and all the people they're complaining about aren't LA people.
So they really just hate themselves.
Yeah, no, they all hate themselves. Everybody in that demographic, like all this NoHo and all of that, they all hate each other because they're talking about themselves.
Yeah, you need a break, bro. Just go to where would I always go? I'd go to like, I don't even know what neighborhood is good like it used to be anymore. So go to Pasadena.
I mean, low key Pasadena has some cool little spots, and it's not difficult to get there because you would hop on. You're off the goal line, huh?
See, you're like breaking up all these streets and highways and stuff. I have no idea where I am.
Okay, I'm like, what train do you use?
I'm off the red line.
Okay, so if you took the red line to Central Station and got on the gold line, you could get to Pasadena in like 30 minutes.
Okay.
And like Old Town Pasadena has like a lot of shops. They got restaurants, bars, different things like that. It's a cool little area, not as busy as in the city. So you know what I mean. Like if you and the wife are ever looking for something, Old Town Pasadena is something that you can get to probably in like 30 minutes or less, hopping on the train. And so not a bad deal at all.
It's a good place.
I appreciate the recommendation.
Yeah. Anybody listening, that's solid advice. Like I was just like, damn, he's not wrong.
Yeah, man. No, I love it, man. So
real quick though, I did want to ask, just from coming from Michigan, New York, and now LA. I mean, and then so were you putting on shows in Michigan as well?
So my first show I ever produced was in Michigan. I was a senior in high school. So what ended up happening was we were part of a sketch comedy group that was part of like this big school. Where it was like sanctioned by the theater group, and they had like a huge theater department. Like I'm talking like probably hundreds of thousands of dollars to be able to put on musical productions. Like Ann Arbor, like that Pioneer High School, when they did Les Mis, they were like one of the first high schools in the country to get the rights to do that musical.
Really?
Like that's how much money they had. So they had a sketch comedy group that I was a part of, and we became incredibly popular. It was like Saturday Night Live at your local high school, right?
Yeah.
So we became the most popular kids because we did a show that was a parody of 8 Mile, because 8 Mile just came out, and we're in Michigan.
Yeah.
So my friends and I, we became like the coolest motherfuckers in the school. And then the next rehearsal, before we had been writing all of our sketches, and we just had an older comedian, like a local comedian, he was like our director, and he would just tell us like, these sketches go here, this is who's doing stand-up in this order, this is how you do stand-up, all that stuff, right? He comes in our first rehearsal after the most popular show. We're all like getting laid, we're having a good time, like we're like, oh, we are the shit. And he has this script, and he's like, all right, last show was amazing, I wrote us the next script for the next show. And we were like, but we write the sketches. He's like, no, I need you guys to trust me. And he says, oh, I do. And he whose name was Bill Barr, by the way. Not Bill Burr, Bill Barr.
Isn't he a
Shout out to Bill Barr, though, because he did give me some of my cornerstones in the comedy structure and all that stuff. But long story short, it was like the show that parodied reality TV, and it was the worst thing ever put on stage. And so we all bombed. We went from like one show where we all killed, and it was like the highest feeling ever, to like 45 minutes of just bombing straight through sketches.
Oh no.
And we couldn't do stand up because he wanted it to be a fluid story through sketches. And then there was some stuff that he like filmed in like the back, like it was like really like shot in real time and showed on the screen. It was so bad. Like he was trying to do some avant-garde shit. Yeah. And so it was terrible. We immediately lost our popularity. And then like a bunch of us quit because we're like, fuck this. And then I went to a separate like an alternative high school, and they had their own theater. And I was like, no one ever does anything here. And I asked my adult homeroom teacher, I'm like, hey, what's the deal with the theater? And she told me I could rent it out if I ever want to do a show there. And I was like, okay. So I got the old crew, and we did an independent show. That was my first experience producing a live comedy event.
And you were how old? Like what?
I was 17.
Yeah. Oh, see, people don't understand. Like the production side of a comedy show is it's a whole ass process.
It's involved, man. It's a lot.
It is. I don't know how you do it. What makes a good? If you're running a show, what makes a good comedy show?
What makes a good comedy show? For me, like I like diversity, man. I don't like. I get so annoyed when I see a comedy lineup when it's all white people. I'm like, you're not even trying, especially if you're in a metropolitan area. I see shows for L.A. at the Comedy Store, all white dudes. I'm like, how? Like,
you're not?
How is that even statistically possible? You know what I mean? Unless people don't fuck with you, like, you know, comedians of color don't fuck with you, you should be able to have a diverse lineup every show, right?
There was a great there was a post I saw by a comedian that I eventually want to get on here and discuss, because he talks about, and I feel like this is rampant in the comedy world no matter where you're at. It's just like, you're going to see these lineups where it's like all white dudes, and it's just like, you're not even trying. I mean, like, at least, you know, because you got to have diversity in your lineup. I mean, what? Like, you want to hear 90 minutes of solid white dude opinions? No people of color, no women, no queers, like no people from the queer community. Like, what? I don't understand that.
It's also like you're going to hear a lot of silly jokes. I feel like with diversity, you're bound to get at least one or two semi like serious or emotional things that you can really have a profound like memory about. Right. The show, right? Like, because if you're booking the show right, it should be like silly, you know, maybe a lot of satire, observational humor, some physical, like, you know, physical comedy. Like, it should be the whole gambit if you know who's out there. You know, if you're not doing the work and going to shows, and also like obviously taking note of people when you're on the shows as a stand-up, then you're not doing your job as a producer.
Yeah. I think people get so wrapped up in the email process, you know, of just like they spend so much time emailing, staying at home, watching clips, and I understand that is a process itself, and so sometimes finding the time to go to a show and go see who's, you know, people just mostly just like text like, hey, who's nice?
It's a lot of work. Yeah,
it is a lot of work, and so which leads me to kind of how we met is Drunk Black History. Let's get into it.
Do you remember that night? Do you remember that?
I saw the video, and it is out there. I think you sent it to me. I don't know, but my wife had some driving to do that night. Like,
oh yeah, that was fun, man. I definitely we're looking forward to going back to Boston now that we kind of know how to market it a little bit better.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was such a fun show because that was our first road show.
So for those that are not familiar with Drunk Black History, I mean, and Miller, you might not be, but it's please enlighten us.
Yep. So it's a showcase with me, my homie Gordon Baker Bone, where we essentially have guests on and we talk about not necessarily hidden Black history, but like the unsung heroes of our history here in America, right? As Black people. And so we not only talk about Black people, but we talk about historical Black events, maybe policies that have always impacted Black people. Like we had a gentleman on last time who talked about redlining and how that's had an impact on the Black community, things like that. I'm so sorry that I'm blanking on his name right now, but I did take an edible before this because I had like some physical tension, so my apologies. But
dedicate as you need.
But you know, we have comedians, we have scholars, we have podcasters, we have journalists, and they get to choose someone to talk about or a topic to talk about, and then we get them a little drunk. Sometimes, depending on your placement on the show, you'll be drunker than others. And you know, we do provide some edibles and additional other ways to encourage folks. Like we're not doing like hard drugs or anything, but we do things to allow people to be a little bit more relaxed on stage because some people do feel like very vulnerable when they're intoxicated on stage, and especially if you're talking about someone that you hold near and dear to your heart, right?
Yeah.
That can allow you to get a little bit emotional, and then people get worried about like being just like that. But we try to maintain an open environment and safe environment for both the audience and the people on stage, because for the audience, we want people to feel comfortable being ignorant about not knowing about some of these things or some of these people, you know, like I sometimes find myself as the host and producer trying to find ways to calm a guest down who's maybe getting a little riled up about, sometimes we've had guests that get frustrated that not enough people know about their subject, or nor about this thing that's happening or happened in history. And so it's important for us to try to like balance that with, hey, but like people like myself who come from very like supposedly well-educated communities don't know anything basically about Black history because of, who the skewed audience was at, that school district. And so we had you on, Jay, at our first road show in Boston, and you
just had
about
alcohol for the record, just only alcohol.
Job security.
Nothing else. Job security, not job security.
Yeah, but you came on and you talked about Blade, which was dope. Well, I mean, you tried to. You kept stopping not even 5 minutes, every 2 minutes, you're just like, I'm so sorry, guys. But you were doing fine. You were just like, I'm so sorry.
I could, you know what? And the thing is I felt weird. I did feel weird because, like you said, we're bringing up parts of, we're talking about redlining. We're talking about, historical Black figures, and I know that there's a lot of pain with that. And I get very angry sometimes when I talk about Black history because I lived in Utah for so long and not a lot of people knew what I was talking about. Like, I actually thought about doing a story about Negro Bill Canyon, which was affectionately known as Nigger Bill Canyon back in the day. And they changed it to like Negro Jim Canyon. And it was like named after a whiskey bootlegger. And I was like, I'm not going to do this because it's just going to make me angry and all this shit. And so I was like, I want to talk about some Black history that doesn't get explored enough. And I decided to talk about Blade from Marvel. And from what I can't remember, it seemed like it did all right. So.
It was perfect. It was perfect timing because I think right before, like maybe a month or so before, Mahershala Ali had been like confirmed as Blade or something like that. So it was already on top of people's mind. And you were like, don't forget all this shit happened because of Blade with superhero genre. And that was like what really got the pop for the character. And then don't you have you have Blade shoes or something, right?
I had some, and I wore my Black Panther. That's right.
Jordans.
I had the Killmonger on one side and the T'Challa on the other.
I think you stunted on those two during the show.
Did you just say you have Black Panther Jordans? I feel like I should not be learning about this now,
bro. They're fire.
Duh.
You can't. They're really dope.
Nigga, I need some of those. Yeah, I need some of those.
These were custom. Like, I got this as a on the back, bro. Like, I love these.
The only other pair of shoes I've ever seen that are cooler than, like, or maybe on the same level as those. There's a dude here at the Universal lot who cut the Us trailer.
Oh,
with the I Got 5 on it, and he got these custom Jordans with like the Us tethered.
Ooh, the tethered.
It's so dope.
Fire.
That's
fire.
Wild,
I gotta see those. I gotta see that on IG.
But you were great on the show, and also the gentleman I was talking about who spoke about redlining. That's Andre M. Perry. He's a fantastic scholar. Really knows his stats because he was hammered and still breaking down statistical data about how redlining's impacted Black communities. And that was a great time. But appreciate you doing the show, man.
I just remember yelling at people to realize that Blade is the most important Marvel movie because it got them out of bankruptcy. Like, you don't get a Marvel Cinematic Universe if Blade isn't made. Like, I remember that, and I think I'm like his actual name or some shit. I kept yelling like something like it was
Eric Cross Brooks.
What's that?
Eric Cross Brooks.
That's right. That's right. I was, bro. Like, I was in it. I was in it because I was like, fine. Yeah. And then I realized I went later in the lineup and I was like, oh shit. Oh no.
That happens sometimes when people like go on too late and they're just like, I thought I was fine. And like, look, like they get on stage and they're just like, where am I?
Yeah. I was just like, oh, like, you know how you get up, like Miller, you know how you just, you have too much and you're like, oh no, like, and we're in it. We're just in it. And I was like, this is going to be the next 10 minutes of my life. And I just got to figure out how to land this plane.
Listen,
it was
question for you. Question for you, Jay. Did you ever go back to the Rockwell? Have you ever performed there since the Drum Black History?
I mean, I think so. I'm not to say that I haven't been welcome back.
The reason why I was asking is because remember you were there for the after, like we went up to the bar afterwards.
Yeah.
And we got the weird vibe. We essentially got kicked out, and we were all like, "What? Do you remember that?" Yeah, I can tell by your face. I don't remember. We didn't get kicked out for anything we did. We literally got kicked out for being like a bunch of black people who just were really excited after having a fun show. And so we had to go to another bar like down the street. But it was so weird because it was a brother that like essentially kicked us out. He was wearing like a bow tie, and it was kind of like if Carlton like gave up and became a manager at Red Lobster.
That's
so he like essentially like kicked everybody out. We're all spending money on drinks. Like people are like, it's not like people are just being cheap and sitting around. Oh,
I vaguely remember this. Like real shit. Like as soon as you said like it was a brother that kind of, I think it was because they were closing.
That's what he said. But then the bartenders were like, we're not closing. That's what was happening. He was telling us that they were closing soon. Like all the black people that are coming in, and then the bartenders were like, "No, we're open for like another hour or so."
I vaguely remember this
because I wrote an email. I had to write an email to Rockwell because they're the ones who hooked up the connection upstairs.
Right.
And then they were like, "Oh, we're so sorry," and I'm like, "It's all good," but it was just weird because it's like all these happy black people. You see your brother running the joint, and then he's like, "Oh, we're closing." And I was like, "Oh, well, all right."
He's like, "Man, damn." Nah, like, and I do remember us being happy though, because you have to understand for those that are listening, there's not like anytime you can be on a show that is predominantly black, it is a different feel to it. It is the jokes come easier because you have the space to be yourself.
Yep.
You know, and that's not me saying like, oh, I prefer this, I prefer that, but it's just like when you have the space and frequency to just be yourself. I mean, perfect example is Donovan Mitchell. Like I just saw an article in Complex about how he's like he left, played Utah Jazz for the first time since being traded to Cleveland, and he's like, "How do you like Cleveland?" And he's like, "I love it," which is a weird sentence for anybody to say, and he just, but it showed that it's so much different than Utah, and like how, you know, when you have the space and the ability to just be yourself, everything just comes naturally and easier. So it's props to y'all. Like, and how have the shows been going as of recent, or as
they've been good? They've been good. We had 2 Juneteenth shows. We had one in Manhattan, and then the other was in Washington D.C., which was dope. This year, I think we're kind of just going to keep it local in New York because, like I'm still being like bi-coastal and everything. So our next one's on Thursday, February 23rd in Brooklyn at the Bell House, which is an amazing venue. They always treat us right. We always have a lot of fun there. So tickets are available at drunkblackhistory.com for in-person and live stream. So if you're not in the New York area or won't be around at that time, you can just join us via live stream. It's great quality. It's, you know, Bell House has never had an issue. And we've had like singers and bartenders, and it's always been engaging online. So please come through if you're not in the New York area.
If you're in the LA area, if you're in the mountain region, like seriously come watch, and it is a good time, you know, like, and yes, you can see the live stream because I saw my ass slipping in 4K, and it is not that part. If you're on the show, then yeah, you might be a little embarrassed, but if you're just watching as a spectator, you're gonna enjoy yourself, and you might fucking learn something. So
yeah, that's the thing, is we try to like make sure that people learn something. I think that's Brandon. That's where the educator in me comes into play. Yeah, it's like, I want people to like have fun and be drunk, but then be like, I learned at least one new thing tonight. Not only did I laugh and I had a good time being around my people, but I learned one new thing today.
Well, question for both of y'all as educators. I mean, Miller, like, how is teaching Black history now in LA? You know what I mean?
So I'll say this.
I mean, when you were doing that.
Well, so I mean, part of it is we one of our programs is I Am Black History. So like we have from like mid-January to like mid-March a whole bunch of schools where we're going to schools and just teaching Black history, but outside of slavery, Rosa Parks, and Martin Luther King, because that's pretty much all that gets really taught in the schools. Especially, you know, I was an elementary school teacher, so they really didn't touch on anything. As myself as a teacher, though, I was like, oh yeah, we're not doing this. Like, we're gonna go through and we're gonna talk about it. I spent way more time than I was allowed to. But what are you gonna do? I was like, first of all, I'm a black man in the classroom, so you're not gonna fire me. Like this, and I worked at primarily black schools, and we learned, you know, Ruby Bridges, and we talked about how Ruby Bridges is younger than my mom. So it was like, let's put things in context here. It's like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We learned about, you know, and I will say California is one of those places that are, you know, quote unquote woke. So we're definitely moving away from using slave to enslaved people and different things like that. So because of California's very progressive, as we'll call it, they are trying to. So they made it now where ethnic studies is like part of their curriculum K through 12. So the reason why a lot of schools are hiring us, we're checking a box for them because the schools still are like hesitant to do it, but they have to have some sort of ethnic and black studies all the way. And actually, if you go to a public college out here, so UCLA, all the UCs, all of those schools, they have to have it as well. So it's really kind of interesting. They're trying to get more of it out there.
Well, it bothers me. I think it bothers a lot of people that it's just that we've been so ignorant in just telling our history. You know what I mean? And because that's the thing is Black history is American history, but people also don't know is just there was. I think once people have an understanding of our history, they won't be so afraid of it. Yeah. You know what I mean? I've noticed when I've interacted with people that aren't familiar with Black history, they just get so sad. You know what I mean? They're intimidated because it's going to make them feel that. I'm like, well, no shit. This is what it is. Also, I mean, but there are many bright spots. Before we was, you know, I hate to say it, but before we was slaves, we was kings. You know what I mean? Like there's plenty of history that's out there that if they just would let us teach it.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's why we have to add the alcoholic element to the show, right? It's kind of, and this is like, you know, not the best way to cope with your pain, but to kind of numb some of the bitterness and sharpness of that lingering history, right? If we could do, like, you know, weed history, Black history, I would be more for that because I think it's a little bit better. But that's one of the reasons why, because a lot of the times when we talk about our history, people do get sad. Right.
Yeah,
that's why we try to get at least one or two comedians on the show to kind of bring some levity to it, because, you know, but it's only sad because we don't know. It's only sad because we didn't learn this growing up as children, so we had time to digest it and figure out how can I contribute to society in a better way that makes people feel safer, that makes people feel more loved in this country, right? And that's what worries me so much about the state of the country, especially as a lifelong educator, seeing the regression, especially in states that are allowing fear to impact their ability to have high education, impact their ability to have mobility within the job market, right? Because Black people, we're trying to we're trying to expand our historical knowledge as a people, right? But white people are trying to erase anything that makes them feel bad. So then you're going to have these two different groups now, even more divided as people get older, because they're going to have different ideas of how society came to be. Yeah. So that means a bunch of people are always going to catch hands because we're not going to be able to talk to each other anymore.
Right.
Yeah, man. No, like I taught for a year in Texas. Their history book is distinctly different than everybody else's. Like,
oh boy!
Like first
you ain't seen a Utah history book. Ooh, shit.
I mean, literally, they made it seem like they had a help wanted ad, and Black people came on in droves on. But it's crazy. It's crazy, dude.
If they had a help wanted ad, then how the fuck did Juneteenth happen?
Jesus
and you didn't tell them.
No, and the craziest thing is no mention of Juneteenth, right? So it's like you would think that like Juneteenth in Houston, Texas would be like so Black people, we get together in our pods in Houston and we're gonna Juneteenth the fuck out of it, but everybody else, they're like, what are you talking about? Like, we would never do it. It's crazy.
Make it make sense.
So first and foremost, like their system is just like so brainwashy. Like, so every morning you'll get in trouble if you don't stand up and say the American pledge and the Texas state pledge every single morning. So you have to pledge allegiance to the state of Texas individually out of all of the United States. Like, yeah, the United States of America, but mainly Texas. And if you like sit down during it, or you'll get like suspended. Like, it's crazy. So you got to think.
As a native Californian, I can't do this.
Like,
I can't.
As a Californian teacher, I didn't even want to do it. I was like, I don't feel like I should make you guys have to say this. They were like, yeah, if you don't say it by a certain time in the day, I'd get in trouble as a teacher. Like, it was crazy, dog. So it's like, I've seen in all of these different places, Nicole's sister taught in Florida. I've seen all these divisions in where the history is. And it's like, I don't know what you're afraid of. Like, yes, there's some shitty parts, but like, there's some shit that's just outright funny in Black history. And I feel like, let's enjoy that too. Like,
yeah. Like what? All right, just off top.
Did you know it was a black man that created ranch dressing?
Yes, I did know.
Shut up.
Yep, that's
really.
We actually had a really great guest that was prepared to do that story in February, but she had a last minute obligation. But yeah, we were going to talk about the Hidden Valley Ranch dude.
So
Hidden Valley Ranch was a brother.
Mm-hmm.
So
like that.
So I've got one. Jesse Owens, when he was at college at Ohio State University, had a group of people around him that had to like go stake out the places he was about to go to make sure that there weren't white women for him to get in trouble with. So like when he wanted to go study in the library, there were people that went into the library ahead of him and like scoped it out to make sure that there weren't like chicks hiding behind the books trying to get, because, you know, it was the 1930s. Like, it was not a time for black men to be getting caught with. And so he had people, and shout out to, because this is when he was pledging Jesse Owens as an alpha. So there were his alpha brothers that were going into the library to make sure that there weren't white women afoot, so he didn't get caught up ahead of the Olympics. That's hilarious.
I like that. I like the fact that a video game cartridge video was invented by a brother.
Yep.
Voice over IP. A lot of people don't know that. This ain't funny. This is just factual. But like, voice over IP was invented by a black woman. Super Soaker, of course, we all know that one.
Lonnie Johnson.
Lonnie, yes. I love that. I love the fact that a Super Soaker, like, that's such a staple. You know what I mean? Like,
and then Nia DaCosta, who's directing the upcoming Marvel film, The Marvels. She was the first black female director to ever have a #1 movie open at the box office.
Come on.
Yep.
See, look at this. If you listen to this episode, write this shit down.
We're magic.
You're doing this episode in December. This is prep for Black History Month next in 2023. Right. You're gonna be solid.
What else? The gas mask, the stoplight, air conditioner,
plasma, hot cone,
rock and roll.
Yeah.
Have y'all seen Back to the Future lately? Like recently?
Yeah.
Man, that one fucking scene, I lose my mind.
I did not I hadn't seen Back to the Future in years. I saw it earlier this year at Hollywood Bowl, and we got to that Chuck Berry scene, and I lost my mind.
Yeah.
It's like, wait, they're saying Michael J. Fox actually is the creator's rock and roll, and Chuck Berry heard him.
Yeah.
I was like, you are out of your mind.
It's one of a lot of 80s and like early 90s movies will piss you off once you like know better. Like, you're like, wait.
Yeah, you're like, oh. There was one Mighty Ducks.
Oh yeah.
With the Oreo line. Did you hear they you know what lines are.
Bro, the 90s were wild. Like Mighty Ducks, Heavyweights, they were saying some crazy stuff to kids.
Yeah. And it was like, and they made sure that like whenever the kid came from the urban part of town, he wasn't just like, you know, like blackish or, you know, you know,
he was always
middle class. No, he was like all the way at the bottom. Like he was Meek Mill with cornrows back in, like he was just.
We reviewed Mighty Ducks 2 on my movie podcast, Medium Popcorn. And I'm pretty sure we did D2, the Mighty Ducks. Those kids went to like Compton, right?
Yeah,
it was like Rocky 3. Like they went to the black neighborhood to learn what Knucklepuck with Kenan Thompson. I was just like, this is batshit.
Which is wild that is Kenan. Kenan was out there representing.
He's been working.
And like, if you really look at I follow hockey. If you look at that shot, you're like, there's no fucking way this will work.
It would kill somebody, wouldn't it? Like, it's so different.
I mean, if you don't go sit your ass down like that, look, this is
from center ice for the logo. Oh, we Steph Curry in it with a puck? No.
He was like, it's Knucklepuck time. Those brothers are playing without pads. I'm like, he's literally giving people concussions.
Yeah,
there's no way.
Like, there's so much shit wrong with that shit. And my favorite was, okay. So if you remember when they found Kenan and they got him on the bus and shit, remember his like brother that was like hanging behind the chain link fence? And he's like, go get him, USA.
You know what? We haven't really done this before, but we're going to have you both on. We're going to do like D2 again, because that just is so crazy now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, we got to revisit that movie.
Bro, like Coach Gordon Bombay, which is like it's the wildest California shit. Like the dude gets a DUI and your punishment is
to be around
Coach
children. like you get a DUI and your first thing is to make you responsible for children. That's the shit that blew like.
It's fucking wild.
Isn't that happened with Keanu Reeves in that Hardball movie? He was like an alcoholic who was like, go hang out with these black kids.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Hardball, yeah. Yeah, but it was I remember they said there was one line that they had in lineup, meaning it was the two black kids. This was like Mighty Ducks 1. And they had two black kids that were brothers, but then they also had a white brother. I guess there was like a blended family, and they were like, it's the Oreo line. And like, maybe I'm tripping, I don't know, but I remember something about that.
I gotta revisit the first one. I mean, I really don't want to, but
it was an awful movie, but now we got to.
Yeah, and then the third one, Bombay didn't even come back, and they were at some new high school, and they were JV trying to go against varsity. Like, that's not how it works. JV, you wait until you're varsity. Yeah. You don't have to go against varsity because then the school's just imploded. Like, what are you doing?
It was, but it was let's not forget. Okay, you really want to fucking, because this is back when in the 90s where everybody was rollerblading and like everything was extreme.
Mighty Power Rangers.
One of my favorite extreme 90s movies, Airborne. You ever seen this shit?
No.
Isn't that with Brendan Fraser?
No. This I don't even know. I forget that. I can't. I think maybe Seth Green is like a supporting character in it at some point.
Okay.
This one you have to watch. It's about a white kid from California that moves to like, I think Michigan or like some Midwest East Coast spot, and like now he goes from rollerblading in Venice to like now playing street hockey. In the God. And then they have a race.
Okay,
they have a race at the end of the movie.
Shane McDermott is the star, and Seth Green is
McDermott.
And Jack Black is in it. Jack Black is in there.
Yes, Jack Black plays a bully, bro.
Jack Black is just some random shit in the 90s. He was in Mars Attacks.
Yeah,
yo, Mars Attacks was an awesome movie for what it's worth.
Absolutely, my wife saw it for the first time, and she. Like 2 months ago, and she was like, "Oh my god, this movie's great." I was like, "It's aged fine."
Yeah, that movie is wild, especially with Jim Brown. But real quick, in regards to 90s movies, Medium Popcorn, the craziest 90s movies we've reviewed are Camp Nowhere, which I don't know if y'all remember. It's Christopher Lloyd takes a bunch of kids. He like essentially cons a bunch of kids' parents to let them rent out this huge camp, and they just go ape shit. And like, it's one of the craziest, most unhinged things I've ever seen in my life.
I remember Camp Nowhere, and then you got to mention Biodome and Encino Man. Those were like,
oh god.
And see, like that was when. So, for context, this is back when I was living in Inglewood, and then my dad got a promotion, and I moved out to Orange County.
Okay.
And so I had no idea like what white neighborhoods were like. So I watched Airborne, Encino Man, and what was the one I just mentioned? Biodome. I watched those 3 movies over and over and over again to just like absorb, and The Breakfast Club, like to just like get a crash course in white culture. This sounds stupid, but I swear to God, this is embarrassing.
So I did the same thing for black culture because I grew up in Ann Arbor, so I had to learn about black people through the wood and shit.
So the wood was your first, like what was your?
No. Like some of the first black films I saw were like off Spike Lee movies, but then like the ones that were like closer to my age would be things like The Wood and things like that.
It was great
to help me, like, because there was very few movies, especially in the late '90s, with black teenagers as like leads.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I didn't really have much to pick from.
They kept by the mid to late '90s, they kept making the same black movie over and over again. So they had The Wood, Four Brothers, Best Man. They were all essentially the same movie, and then they made God, what's this other one that was like Brown Sugar and Love and Basketball are basically the same movie.
Love Jones and stuff. Yeah.
So it's just like
and it was like Tay Diggs falls in love in this one. Tay Diggs pukes in this one. Tay Diggs is a piece of shit in this one. Tay Diggs is awesome. Like they just Tay Diggs got and Omar Epps.
And Omar Epps.
I do want to give a shout out real quick to Malcolm D. Lee, who is the writer and director of the Best Man series. He has the new TV show coming out on Peacock, the final chapters. He's also my mentor in this program, so shout out to Malcolm D. Lee.
I love it.
The first episode was dope. The first episode's really good. If you like that movie,
but
if you like those the movie series, you're gonna love that first episode at least. That's the one. That's
cool. Well, so we talked. Obviously, we got in the movie. So now, what are you working on now? You talking about this program?
So I'm working on a second draft for a feature film script that I wrote for the Universal Studios, which is my biggest responsibility being a participant in this year's program. They give me mentorship, so I'm working with Malcolm. I'm working with a studio executive, and I'm just owning a lot, meeting a lot of people. I'm seeing stars that impacted my childhood. I'm walking down hallways of movies that made me the person who I am, made me fall in love with cinema. And it's just a dope. Like, even if it's just for the year, like that's perfectly fine with me. This is a great experience, and it's pretty dope to be able to say I wrote a script for a studio. Like, if they'll make it, who the fuck knows? But at least I could say like I actually wrote something.
Like low key, I'm extremely proud and definitely jealous because it's like right now, like my biggest project that I wanted to do is write a Christmas movie. I just want to write one, and
we need them.
We need more Black Christmas movies.
We need them, please.
Because like I've been in a Christmas movie, like I was on a Hallmark Lifetime one, and it was cool. It was fun. It was a great experience. But then I remember seeing like a graphic. It was like a menu select. My buddy shout out to Lucas Seelig, great comedian, love you, Doolin. He posted this, and it was like a screenshot of like you could pick all these different Christmas movies to watch. It was like Hallmark, Lifetime shit.
Yeah.
And I kid you not, it was like 25 of them. All of them just white faces, and it's like there's got to be some more. There's got to be some black stories, some brown stories. There got to be just some different ones, and it's not that I don't want to write the same formula where it's like, hey, guy moves out of Ann Arbor, Michigan, and to move to the big city, and then comes home and finds the.
How do you know my idea for Universal? But like, Brandon, you're just writing yourself on this journey in LA.
But that's the thing, though, is like we should be writing ourselves, and like I love the fact that you're writing. If you are writing your story, your journey from Ann Arbor, Michigan, please do it because, I spent 15 years in Utah. I have to write that. I have to. I don't want to, but I have to write some sort of satire or fictional take on that because it's there because I love when they know that we exist in other places. You know what I'm saying? When people know, one of my favorite, I saw this video on Instagram. It's this brother, he's hiking. He's like in his mid 50s or something like that, maybe early 60s, maybe 70s. Shit, black don't crack. I mean, like, he out there shirtless, walking with a cane, got his shirt on top of his hat, and he's coming up the mountain. He's fully sweating. He's got like a little, kind of like a walking stick, but he's moving. And this black family's coming down the mountain, and he says, "If I'm out here, he said, if you out here, I gotta be out here." You know what I'm saying? And like, that's what it feels like when I think of our stories, is just like,
absolutely,
we need to be shown that we're just not just in the city. We're not just, we're not. I'm tired of these slavery movies. I can't do it. I just can't.
Same, bro.
I can't. Like, I feel, Will Smith. It's like, damn, you're gonna return on a slave movie. Like, damn. Like, I wish you had something else in the tank. Like,
I'm sure he did too.
I know,
I'm sure
but
he realized, I got Emancipation come out later this year.
Yeah,
shit.
and he's got and it's just like, but I just don't. And he's like, it's not a, I guess they were trying to say it's not a slave film. I can't see us in chains anymore.
Slave adjacent.
So I want it.
Like, it's slave adjacent, dog. Like,
right.
It's very slave adjacent. We've been emancipated enough times. We got it.
Right. He should have just called the movie like you said, Help Wanted. You know what I mean? Is that what we're gonna do? No, it's not gonna be that. So please continue to tell, like, anything that you're working on. I hope it gets greenlit, brothers. Like, for real, because I love the way you approach this. Like, I don't know, I'm just really happy for you, and I'm really excited for you. And as a guy who wishes I was in that same type of program, maybe when I retire and get out, we'll see what's in store for me. But man, I hope you wish you all the success. So
Um,
Thank you so much, man.
Before we get out of here, Brand, Miller, you got questions for him or?
Nah, man. I'm just, again, I'm excited because I like that they're giving opportunities for more Black people in those spaces, because that's been part of the problem why we can't get different stories told, because they're not bringing enough new faces in. So, you know what I mean? I'm excited to see it. And man, I'm going to be tuning into the Drunk Black History, because that sounds like my type of party.
Please do. Please do. It's a lot of fun, man. And again, folks, that's on Thursday, February 23rd at the Bell House in Brooklyn, New York. Tickets for in-person and live stream are available at drunkblackhistory.com. And thank you guys again so much for having me on the show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, and the Medium Popcorn, right?
Yeah, Medium Popcorn, they can spoil the movies. Best theme song in the podcast game, I promise you. Medium Popcorn. It's a movie review podcast with the homie Justin Brown. And we review movies, old, new. It's all over the place. Sci-fi, Black films, romantic films, action. It's all that stuff. So check that out. And then follow me on the socials at American Collins.
Did y'all do Meteor Man yet?
We did Meteor Man a while back, a few years ago.
Good.
That movie's wild. That movie's so crazy.
Yeah.
Robert Townsend, I mean, he doesn't get enough shine. It's Hollywood Shuffle is one of my all-time favorites. And so, that's much love to him. So, but yes, follow my man on at American Collins. Man, thank you so much for stopping by, Brandon. Seriously. Thank you, man. I'm glad we got this done, and hopefully I get to see you next year sometime. Or if you want us on for Mighty Ducks 2 or whatever, Airborne.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely
let us know.
Let us know.
Yo,
all right, brother,
we need a deep dive on Short Circuit, man, with Brown.
we could do that. We could do that.
Yo,
we could do Short Circuit, definitely.
Yo,
this is Miller's like movie.
Number one movie of all time for me is Short Circuit, and I was like,
oh boy,
unreasonably in love with that movie. Like, it's
Yeah.
Okay, we'll talk about that.
Unreasonable is the perfect way to describe it. Unreasonable. All right, y'all. Y'all be easy.
Take it.